good evening, everyone, and welcome to your GSU training session tonight. I'm Angela Williams. I hope everybody already knows that, but if you don't, and I am the CEO of Mental Health Restoration, and I wanted to make my little logo bigger so you can actually see the concept that I was thinking about when I was thinking about mental health restoration and how it fits with everything that I'm going to be discussing throughout my talks. My mental health restoration, that's everything from the AIR method, the resilience, how I chime everything in. Now I'm gonna go over the AIR method to you. If you see, there's a picture of it. This is what I like to call the AIR cycle. You have adapt, you have inner work, and you have repeat. And I wanted to give you like my view of how I see a cycle, because an AIR cycle can happen at any time during the day. Take example, or any time during the week. For example, my AIR cycle for today, where I had to actually adapt, do the inner work, and repeat, is my pop. He's really not doing too good. And today I had to actually take him to have a stress test. And during this stress test, they want him to do things like get on a treadmill, and they want his heart rate to be up. And I keep trying to tell him, well, he can't breathe. And when you're dealing with some people who aren't communicators, they're not communicators, so they're trying to rush everything, and everything that he's saying, it's like they're listening to him but they're not listening to him. And for me, I had to step back and be like, okay, I need to adapt to what they're trying to tell him, but then word it to him that way he understands it without feeling like they're just trying to talk over him, because that's really how he was. He was like, I can't. And she's like, well, Mr. Sam, when you cough, you can not gonna, no, he's like, I can't breathe regardless. So doing the inner work, I had to come back down and just have that repeated throughout the day, knowing that tomorrow we have more appointments. Now, going into the pictures that I have, each of the pictures that I have there are part of my conception of the AIR method, from breathing the air, first speaking it in June 2022, to actually, if you see where it says where inner work is, I formulated the resilience formula and the resilience flow, which we'll talk about those. We talked about those last class. And then in 2023, I'm actually starting to, and till now, develop my modules, what classes I want to teach as far as self-awareness. And that's what we're talking about tonight. The pictures that I have there are AIR cycles for me. The top picture is me finding out my hair was coming out, then going to the actual one of my sessions, one of my treatments, and getting the hair cut off. And then you actually see me sitting there after it's cut. And that was how me adapting to not having to the hair coming out, getting it cut, and then sitting there really being at peace with it, knowing that, of course, your hair is going to grow back. It's just how you see it, how you put the positive spin on it. All right, so every approach we take, guided by the blueprint of the AIR method, isn't just about strengthening our structure. It's about ensuring it can weather any storm and life's wear and tear. We start with self-awareness. It's the foundation and the very first pillar in the resilience flow. Like checking the base of your house for stability, self-awareness grounds us. It helps us see clearly who we are and what we stand for every time we step onto the stage or face life's challenges. And for me, that was one of the things of the AIR method. I wanted to show the versatility of it. So the self-awareness part of it was like, okay, how can I incorporate these things that I learned as life lessons into what I'm learning about being a speaker? And self-awareness is one of those things, because I had to figure out my signature story. And I've been through so many of them, but I know now that the conception and my AIR method is my signature story. Now, mindfulness, which is the second pillar, is like the frame of the house. It keeps us present and aware, letting us observe life as it unfolds. both the breezes and the storms, without taking too much damage. It's where we pull our lessons from the stories that come from the lessons that come from our stories. And that is how I have gone about using the AIR method of adapting, doing the inner work repeat, because I can pull stories, a story from when Nation was younger and how I had to learn how to adapt to his energy, or well, how I learned that my energy will affect other people's energy if I let it. Is he was having a seizure, and the calmer that I stayed while he was having his seizure, the calmer he was able to get as he would come out of it. And the more upset I got, the more upset he got. So that mindfulness of any lessons that you have in your life can become part of your story. Like anything that you think you can think of can be a lesson, and it's very good, useful information that you can use for your supporting stories also. Self-care is the third pillar, similar to the utilities that keep a home functioning. It ensures we have the energy to engage fully, whether preparing for a talk or reflecting afterwards. And for me, self-care came in play today because not only did I have to take my grandfather, my pop-up, to the doctor, but I also had to travel 2 hours to Maryland, stay there for the stress test, which took like 4 hours, then travel 2 hours back here to the house to get prepared to speak with you all. And this has been like, I have had everything written out, but not being able to actually say it without breaking down in tears, because it's like everything that I'm talking about with the AIR method really just encapsulates how versatile it can be for even us as speakers, if we would just go through and think about like, how are we using our self-care as far as our speaking. And for me, it was turning off everything, making sure that I can actually feel what I want you guys to feel when I'm looking at my slides and everything. Now, positive relationships form the fourth pillar. Much like the load-bearing walls that support our home, they enforce us, providing encouragement and insight, strengthening our resolve and amplifying our message. And those positive relationships have been so key for me in my speaking career this last, since starting with GSU in 2022. I have a whole bunch of champions that I have looking out for me, like Dr. Jonas. I know he didn't even know that I didn't even get to speak to him because I was driving when he called me, but he said a prayer for my pop-up, and he didn't even know that at that time coming home is when I needed to actually see his name pop up and be like, got home and listened to the message. And it was like, okay, that is what I needed. And he just strengthened where I am in my life today, as in knowing that right now is the hardest time of my life, because this is the most important person to me, is my pop-up. Like, he's my last living grandparent, and he is my dad. He's been my dad for my whole life. And to lose him is a hard thought, but knowing that I have this AIR method and that I understand it, it helps me stay positive more, to where I'm like, okay, yes, we got to look at it. He is 84. He's had a full, fruitful life, which brings me to purpose, which is the fifth pillar. And it's the fifth pillar in the resilience flow. Purpose is what drives the architecture forward. The reason we build, it shapes every decision, from the layout of each room to the choice materials, ensuring our actions align with our ultimate aspirations and goals. And for me, being able to tell my stories, but also having the AIR method so that I can show how each of even your own lives, if you can think about anything in your life, think about any story you have. You had to adapt in some way. You had to do the inner work in some way to get over it. And you've actually had to repeat that lesson. You either repeat it to learn more about it, or you repeat it because you've learned that lesson and you can use it to help somebody else with it. Sharing my experiences is like inviting you into my mental house. Each strategy each pillar is integral to its integrity. With the resilience formula interlaced throughout, our mental health stands not just as a shelter, but as a testament to our ability to grow, adapt, and thrive. Now let's go to the next slide. This slide, it may look like the one from last week, but it is not. Here are the issues of comfort zones. Okay, I was thinking about all of these and I was like, okay, how can I take that and incorporate it into speaking and make it to show how versatile it is? And the comfort zones here, if you look at the comfort zones, the issues in the being in our comfort zone are avoidance of feedback. And I have come across a couple people who do not really take feedback too good. They're still working on their self-awareness part of it. The complacency in content. And what I mean by the complacency in content is where you get stuck in one part. Now, I was thinking like, okay, when Dr. Cheryl said about supporting stories, I was like, oh, great. Now I know that I don't have to stick with my signature story every time. And I've learned how to break down the stories that I have and use them for different parts. Like for the comfort zone, we have limited audience engagement. For my group, the Air Method Network group, I have limited audience engagement, but it's not actually stopping me from keeping going forward because I know somebody is actually seeing that and they're going to get something from it. So it keeps me in that positive outlook in that comfort zone, even though those issues have arisen. In the fear zone, we have fear of public perception. How is the public thinking about what I'm saying if I say the universe, the guides, my ancestors, my angels? What is their perception? And if you don't get feedback, you never know that. Avoidance of challenging topics. I am not one to shy away from topics. I love speaking about different things, anything. If anybody wants to talk about it, I'm all for it. And that's one good thing I've learned about communication is in order to talk to different people, you have to have a good knowledge of these things. So one of the issues is to try to get out of that avoidance of challenging topics. Over reliance on scripts. That is me. For right now, that is me. Until now, I'm just going off a script. I'm not actually reading my script. But when I do get back to it, it's because those things I'm showing you the conceptualization of my Air Method program of you're seeing like firsthand how I'm taking all of the lessons that I've learned and putting them into where I can shape it and mold it into explaining the Air Method, but also explaining these issues with you, if you understand what I'm saying. The learning zone. We got the issues of difficulty in handling tough questions. It all depends on the question for me, how difficult that is when I am doing one of my lessons or when I'm trying to put together a talk. And I've noticed that we all have our different ways of doing things. And I always like to say I'm not a conformist. I don't like to conform. I don't like to conform. I'm a rebel, but I do see and resonate and take what resonates with me. And for me, I like to blend in and integrate my stories with the Air Method. So it's always going to be a different thing, but the main theme is mental health restoration. Stress from continuous learning. We have to learn how to not do that. So I do have, you see this, oh, if you want to take a picture of it, you can. You have overwhelmed with adaptation don't be overwhelmed when you have to adapt. Go into the growth zone. We have managing expectations of that's one thing that I work on too, is one of the issues is managing my expectations of how to deliver it for you guys and knowing that my expectations don't let it destroy the progress that I've already made with sharing the Air Method with you all. Balancing ambition with well-being, and that goes back to self-care. How are we taking care of our business and our personal? Are we balancing those? Are we doing what we need to do? and sustaining growth. So for this, the issues of the comfort zones, I have 4 strategies. These 4 strategies can guide us as speakers to positively navigate through the challenges of each zone using the AIR method to transform issues into opportunities for growth and resilience. All right, so first one. All right, so as we transition into exploring this strategy, number 1, picture yourselves as architects of positivity using the tools of adaptation, inner work, and repetition to turn any mental blueprint from a sketch of what it is to a detailed design of what it can be, filled with hope and resilience. Like I said, positivity for me is all about focusing on what can be versus what it can't be, because the more you focus on what it ain't and what it's not, the more you're going to get what it ain't and what it's not. So we got to reframe our perspective, which I like to call reinventing our blueprint, because we're going to stick with that mental house restoration. That's my little metaphors, my themes. Okay, so this reframing our perspective, reinventing our blueprint is in the comfort zone issue. All right, so like skilled architects who must sometimes redraw their blueprints to improve their design, we too can reframe our perspective to enhance our mental outlook. This is about taking those thoughts or experiences that challenge us and looking at them in a new way, finding the hidden opportunities for growth and learning that they represent. It's a powerful tool in our speaker's toolkit that allows us to build a more resilient and impactful message. And when I was thinking about these comfort zones and speaking, I was like, okay, what issues do I have as far as when I want to share a talk and coming down to the technicals of it and how do I get the points and the tips and all that is by number 1, I have to reframe my perspective on how I'm sharing it with you guys. So number 1 would be regularly review your plans. And that is what I do over and over and over again. Like I really hone in on each of my talks, because the talks that you guys are getting, the sessions that you are getting are modules in my self-awareness course. So you're actually getting, you're my beta testers for right now. So any information you can give me feedback is perfect, because you're my beta testers. So that's number 1. And if you see there, I wrote there for regularly review your plans. For me, after every speaking event, take time to reflect on moments that felt challenging. And for me, it's more or less wanting my information to feel authentic, but also knowing that for right now, I'm going to be reading from my notes until I can because this is my brainchild. It is my information. It's just that I'm too of a fast talker to like, and I want to stay on track. So it's for reinterpret these moments as chances to learn and improve. Tip number 2, adjust the floor plan. That's what I like to call this one. When encountering setbacks or negative feedback, ask yourself how this can add a new room or feature to your speaking house. Perhaps it's an opportunity to open up a skylight for more light, meaning find the positive or a new angle you hadn't considered before. And as I see each and every one of you's sessions, I learn more and more about, okay, well, this is how I like that. And I want to adjust that so that you can understand this more. And it's like I tweaking and tweaking. And it's wonderful to have all of you elite team leaders and team leaders giving your presentations too, because it really helps me on how I can adjust my floor plan. All right. So that's strategy number 1. Strategy number 2, visualization for success, drafting the future. This goes with the fear zone issues. Okay, as we continue to explore the blueprint of mastering positive thinking with the AIR method, having laid a solid foundation of self-awareness and reinforced our structure with the resilience of reframing our perspective, we now ascend to the next level of our mental architecture. Let's turn our gaze toward the future, envisioning the structure of success we aim to construct. This brings us to our second core strategy, which is, as you see, visualization for success, drafting the future. I watched a talk by Dr. Les Brown, and also in the book, The Power of Intention, Dr. Wayne Dyer says that when you're doing things, Les Brown says start from the end. When you're forming your talk, start from the end. So what I like to do is for my visualization, I visualize what I want you guys to get out of my talk. And then as I go, I do my slides, which is weird. I put together my slides, and then as I'm putting together my slides, that's how everything I want to say comes together. And I'm mixing and matching. And when I tell you the class that Dr. Cheryl's about to have with AI, take it if you have not and you're not using it. Take it because it will help you a lot. Okay, so in the realm of speaking and personal development, envisioning our success is similar to an architect meticulously drafting the future skyline. It's about seeing beyond the present, mapping out the contours of our aspirations with clarity and conviction. Just as a skyscraper begins as a vision before it touches the sky, so does our journey towards impactful speaking and positivity. Tip number 1, design your landmark. Think of a speech or presentation that would mark a high point in your career, like a towering skyscraper in a cityscape. Spend a few minutes each day picturing yourself delivering this landmark speech, focusing on the details that make it memorable. And for me, I wake up thinking about my AIR method. I go to bed thinking about my AIR method. I go to bed thinking about the resilience formula, like knowing that self-improvement plus personal development equals personal growth. And if you do some things in each of those self-improvement and personal development, you're growing continuously, which completes the AIR cycle. And I wake up always just like wanting to share that and thinking, how can I share it this way? How can I share it to these people? How can I share it to these people? Tip number 2, conduct site visits. So what I mean by that is, in your mind, walk through the entire experience of your successful speech, from the preparation to the standing ovation. Make this practice a regular part of your speech and preparation routine. That is more for me than it is for you, because it's one of the things that I have been working on. Like, I'll sit here and I'll go over what I have wrote down, type, so that it because it is my words. It's just you want to saying it over and over. It makes it feel more authentic to me as I speak it from reading it. All right. So, yes. Let's go to number 3. Is cultivating flexibility, building flexible structures. This goes with the learning zone issues. So just as modern buildings are designed to flexibly sway with the wind rather than resist it, cultivating flexibility in our emotional responses allows us to gracefully navigate the diverse reactions of our audiences and the dynamic nature of our speaking engagements. This strategy strengthens our ability to remain composed and connected no matter the emotional currents we encounter. It's about installing that emotional shock absorbers that enable us to maintain our structure, our poise, and our purpose under pressure. And if you see the picture, the AI, that was a perfect way to make it, because I wanted the structure to be able to see that it can sway. And if you see, it has the shock absorbers on the side, and the people inside the buildings are doing yoga to keep their positive intake and their mindsets just on doing what they need to do. So tip number 1 is practice mindful observation. Like inspecting a building for any signs of stress or wear, or take time to observe your emotions without immediately reacting. Goes back to the respond, stop, think about it, and respond before you just immediately react. Imagine your feelings are like the weather around your house, constantly changing, but not defining the structure itself. This detachment allows you to respond more adaptively to different situations, ensuring your mental structure can flex without fracturing. And plenty of times I've had to do that because we have 3 appointments in a row. So that's tomorrow I got to go back to Maryland, come back to Pennsylvania. Thursday, back to Maryland, back to Pennsylvania. It's a lot. But me knowing that I can stay peaceful and I can keep my positive outlook and just observe my feelings, really observe my feelings, helps me adapt into those situations. Tip number 2, create a flex space in your routine. In architecture, flex spaces are designed to serve multiple purposes. Adapting to the needs of the moment, incorporate a flex space in your daily dedicated activities that promote emotional flexibility, such as journaling, meditation, listening to your favorite playlist of 19 songs, where you can freely express and manage your feelings, helping you maintain balance and resilience. For my flex space, it would be my office, but when I don't have my flex space as my office, I do have a particular playlist that I will play that keeps me positive and upbeat, so that when I'm working on my whether I'm working on coaching or I'm working on what I'm posting to my Facebook community, it just depends. It helps to create that into your daily routine. All right, our last one is cultivating positive narratives. And of course, this goes with the growth zone issues. In our journey through mastering positive thinking with the AIR method, we've laid the foundation and built up the resilient pillars that support our mental and emotional well-being. And if you remember, those pillars are self-awareness, mindfulness, self-care, positive relationships, and purpose. Now let's focus on our 4th strategy, cultivating positive narratives. This strategy is about harnessing the stories we tell ourselves and others, ensuring they reflect the optimism and resilience we've developed. It's about painting our speaking engagements with strokes of positivity, coloring our experiences in ways that not only lift us up, but also inspire those around us. And it just goes with me saying, to find those moments in any of your stories where you can pick something positive, but it also is a message in it. Like it's so many things that I've picked out of my life about self-awareness, that I have 15 components that are going into my modules for my self-awareness workshop. Well, it's going to be a 12-week course that I've learned. And what did I do with it? Okay. Just to rattle off a couple: coping with stress and adversity. We know that one. Receptivity to feedback, body awareness, like that's part of self-awareness too, is your body awareness. And that goes into working on your adapting, you're doing the inner work to fix your body image. So number 1 for that is to frame your stories with hope. Begin by examining the stories you frequently share in your talks. Ask yourself, how can these narratives be framed to highlight the journey towards hope and resilience? Just as an architect designs a building to withstand the elements, craft your stories to stand strong against pessimism, emphasizing the lessons learned and the strengths gained. That's all I'm be trying to do, is like share all these lessons. Like, I know they're for somebody, if or they're regurgitated for somebody who needs to heed it, because Dr. Cheryl says repetition is the key to mental ownership. So hearing things over and over and over again helps us remember them and helps us to, I guess, not go back as much if we keep hearing the same thing. Number 2, eliminate your path with positive milestones. Every speaker's journey includes milestones that have shaped their path. Identify key moments in your own journey where positive mindset made a difference. These milestones can serve as powerful examples in your speeches, acting as beacons that guide your audience towards the value of positivity. Like placing lamps along a path, these stories light the way for others to follow. And as as the representation of the little thing that I made with the AI of the lights going up to the story, and you can just see all the elements of the story on there. So our recap. Apply, number one, the strategy of reframing our perspective to see the value in stepping out of your comfort zone, finding new topics, actively seeking constructive feedback to evolve your speaking style. Embrace the discomfort as a signal for growth opportunities. 2, utilize visualization for success to mentally prepare for diverse audience reactions and challenging questions. And this goes with the fear zone. By visualizing positive outcomes and effective engagements with the audience, you build confidence and reduce fear. 3 is implement cultivating flexibility by practicing adaptability in your preparations and presentations. When faced with the need to learn new skills or tackle tough inquiries, remind yourself that each new experience strengthens your abilities as a speaker. And harness cultivating positive narratives to manage the pressures of growth. Okay, so share the stories of how you've navigated challenges and turned them into triumphs. This can inspire your audience and remind you of the progress you've made, thus reinforcing your commitment to continuous development, which has definitely done for me. I'm remembering stories that, look, I didn't even know related to the AIR method in my life that have. It's just so awesome if you sit back and think about all of your own stories that you have adapted to, done the inner work and repeated, and see how many AIR cycles you have in your life. As we wrap up our session today, let's remember that understanding ourselves is like laying the foundation of a strong, welcoming home. This self-awareness is what allows us to fill our homes with positive thoughts, face challenges with courage, and grow beyond what we thought possible. I've shared parts of my journey with you through the ups and downs to show how staying positive and open to change has made all the difference. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What resonated? What are you taking away from today? Let's use these final moments to share our thoughts and insights and consider how we can apply what we learned to light up our paths and the paths of those around us. And I am done. Thank you. Let me see the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, I love it. I love it. I can't wait to read everything. So what did you guys think? I didn't get to really, it came out the way I wanted it to, but the beginning is not the way I wanted it to come out. So I hope that was
Can you stop your share so we can see your face?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am, I sure can. There I am.
Great session, since I'm commenting.
Thank you.
Great session. Thank you. I just want to acknowledge that I can see the time and the effort that you're putting into the sessions. And I think this is such a big part of growth. Everything that you share, the way that you're really hashing out the AIR method in this way is something that you're going to be able to utilize, across so many platforms beyond just GSU. But I just want to acknowledge that I see the time, the effort, the energy that you're putting in to do research, and it's just going to keep flowing even more and more smoothly the more that you do it. So I think that everybody should take this moment to kind of look at Angela as an example of growth, like really, really jumping in and not being afraid to do it imperfect, not being afraid to do it scared, not being just do it. Like it's and it turns out fine because you can look at the chat and you can see how much it impacted people. And then you pull in your personal experiences as a part of that. So again, for me, sitting back, it's just great to witness the growth and to see how much effort you're putting in. Just keep up the great work, and thank you for the great content tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I didn't think I was going to be able to get home in time to do it, but I was like, I felt God was like, nope, nope, nope. This needs to be given because you're putting it together, and I want beta testers, and I want you guys to hear it to see if it flows good. And so that makes me happy that it is receptive, and you guys do understand where I'm coming from with it and
I
how
have,
versatile it is. Thank you.
I
I
would
hate to
say
do-
I was a little late getting on. I'm sorry, but I got a good portion of it. I'm gonna go back and listen to the replay. The thing I thought that I was like, that would be so cool if she ended her talk with that. You said this probably just a little bit before you finished. You said, see how many air cycles you have in your life. And I feel like that I'm just, as we're talking, we're doing speaking, I'm like, man, I literally wrote it down so I can tell it back to you. I was like, yeah, let's do that. And I'm like,
I usually try to end with elevate your life one air cycle at a time. That was my little tagline that I have. Elevate your life one air cycle at a time.
okay, cool beans. I like
Like
that. I
that
thought that
one?
was a good, I was like, that's a good tagline too.
Thank you. Miss Arlene, I see your hand.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for all the sharing. One of the things that I really liked, I loved, was when you showed the building and you showed that, how the architects make it so that even though the wind comes, the buildings are able to bend. And that helped me to understand exactly what Dr. Cheryl said. And you said it too, that we're able to do things imperfectly because there's a bounce back. We know that things will bring us right back into alignment, that we might bend, but we won't break because of that. So I want to thank you for allowing us to be your beta testers, because you have given us such great content. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I see you, Dr. Joan.
Yes, just want to say an amazing job, well done, and much to what Dr. Arlene Span said. Thank you for using the building analogy. It was really good. And I like the way you ended with recapping what you have gone over, just like to put it back in a summary. That was really good, because sometimes we hear things and we forget, but then you definitely make sure that when we leave, we remember everything in a nutshell. And for me, that was key. Thank you.
Thank you. That goes back to Dr. Cheryl's her speech, our outline. I try to follow the outline with every session that I do. I make sure I follow her outline.
You better come through, Angela. You better come through with the recap, girl. Somebody paying attention up in GSU. Yes. Okay, sorry. I had to say that. I had to yell.
It helps. It helps me stay on track too.
So could everybody just unmute yourselves and let's just give love to Angela for that beautiful session that she presented tonight.
Amazing.
Awesome job, Angela.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent,
Thank you
excellent,
all. I appreciate you all for coming and
excellent,
listening.
excellent.
And I just want to say, this is Dr. Cheryl. I apologize that I did not send out the well, you guys, first of all, number one, you all have the link. So I had to like Cheryl, they grown adults. If they don't put it on their calendar, that's on them. But I do try to do a backup to the backup by making sure that you have it in a calendar invite. But I've been really busy this month because it's Women's History Month. So you'll notice I wasn't even on the last couple sessions, or I kind of popped in, showed my face, and showed up, looked, make sure everything was set up, and then I left because I've had so much going, and it's not going to slow down. So there are going to be sessions where I'm not present, and I don't have the time to send you a reminder. So it's really important that you mark the dates on your calendars. Even whether I send it to you or not, the Zoom link does not change. So you can put that in your own calendar. But when you get off of this session, you're going to see that I inundated you and spammed you with the whole month of the rest of March and into April for those next sessions, so that it's done. So it's on my calendar, but I have to make sure I go in and I put all of your emails into the list. That's what didn't happen for this week's call. So I do apologize for that, because I just think it's it's great to have it as a backup. But even if you don't have the backup, always remember that your growth is up to you. At the end of the day, you can't, It's not okay to say, well, I didn't get a reminder. No, that's your business to make sure it's important enough to you to have it on your calendar so that you can show up. Because I promise you, all the hundreds of thousands of dollars I've spent, you would have thought Lisa would have came back and did my stuff for me. But she ain't been here yet to Maryland to do my work for me. I had to come back and I have to do the work, right? And that's where discipline comes in. And that's a whole nother session, but I don't want to take away from this session. But anyway, I did want to apologize that I didn't send a reminder. So I'm turning it back over to you, Angela, for any closing comments.
Look, I was hoping that everybody knew. Just go back to the last one and click that link. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
I mean, you can only tell people so many times.
I know, but you know, wait a minute.
We in March 12th.
Telepathically sending information to people like it's there.
It's March the 12th. If you ain't caught on to the fact that it's the same Zoom link every session, and we've been doing how many sessions a week? 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5, 6 sessions a week. You got some challenges. So nothing has changed. It's easy, but it does have to matter to you. You have to want to be there. And in life, nobody's holding our hands to take us into our destiny. Nobody. Anybody here anybody holding your hand? Nobody's holding my hand to take me into my next level. Nobody's holding my hand to take me into staying relevant 13 years in. I've got to want it so bad. I've got to want it worse than anybody else wants it for me. And that means you got to pay attention. You got to show up. You got to look at the calendar. Like I look at my calendar all day, every day, because I'm scared I'm going to miss something. I don't know about y'all. I literally look at my calendar all day, every day. I had a meetup with someone this morning and I didn't put it on my calendar, but we just talked last night. And I was like, yeah, sure. I'll come as soon as I finish drop off the boys. I come meet you. I can pick up the stuff because I'm prepping for the event next weekend. Thank goodness the person called me and was like, hey, so I'm like 15 minutes away. I said, so am I. I see you there. But I really forgotten. But thankfully, I was close enough to get there at the same time the person arrived there. So for me, I look at my calendar is my world. If it's not on the calendar, it's probably not going to get done because I didn't make it priority. Right. So just make it a priority, y'all. And kudos to everybody who's here and who's continuing to show up, because this is about the time where people start falling off from their New Year's goals. They all hype, they pumped up in January, but by March, you see who's really left. You see who's really, as my kids say, locked in. They were like, Mama, you got to lock in. That's what the kids say now. Do you really want it? Lock in. So now y'all got a new expression for anybody who don't have kids. That's what they say. So we got to be locked into where we want to go by the end of this year and by January 1 of next year. Are you locked into what you said you wanted to accomplish? This is a part of it, growth and development. And of course, I'm not by any means saying that anyone has to be at every single session, but a part of it is, even if don't feel like, well, that content is really what I need, right? I feel like, number one, you always take away something that you didn't anticipate when you show up. And number two, you stay connected to community instead of isolating yourself. I just had this conversation with somebody earlier today, one of my clients, and I said, when you're going through, stop isolating yourself. When you do that y'all hear me say it over and over, that is the devil's playground. Like, even when you watch on TV, how many of you have ever watched the animal shows? Who does the lion always go after? It's always that one little deer, that one little antelope, whatever. Anybody that's a straggler and they hanging out by themselves. They not with the herd, right? They not with the group. That's who they attack, because you're at your weakest when you're by yourself. You're stronger together. So keep that in your mind when you're thinking about coming to these sessions. Sometimes it's for the content. Sometimes it's to pick up what the team leaders are doing so that you can implement it when you become a team leader for next year. Hello, hint, hint, hint. And some of it is going to be simply for the community and the energy that you get and the vibrancy you get for every call that you come to. So just keep that in mind and stay committed, right? Are you interested in what you said you wanted in January, or are you committed to it? Big difference between the two. Okay.
Oh, your hands, Davetta. I know you wanted to say something. I see you.
Just something I was just thinking about, because I just literally wrote down these one-liners that you were saying, something like reframe my perspective. Self-improvement plus personal development equals growth. Drafting your future, practice visualization. I was like, what if she had like, I don't know, call them flashcards or something, or sticky notes that people, yeah, it's an idea. I'm giving it to you. Like in my mind, I was like something that, because we always talk about putting sticky notes up with things around. I thought, what if you, I don't know, you framed it up or something to that effect, and people could just take it and, peel off and stick it. Maybe it's stickers or something. I don't know.
That's a good idea. Stickers.
There you go.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey, merch. Hey. Now I got to work on trademarking. And what do you got to do? Copyright things. You got to trademark it and copyright it and all the do's it's and what's it's. But thank you all. Does anyone else have anything to say? If not, I will let you all go. I can't wait to read all of the comments in the chat because I always go back and do that. I make sure I read everything. And I appreciate you all.
And can I ask one more question? I'm so sorry, Angela.
Yes.
It is, I believe we're about to close tickets for next Saturday's event. And if you are coming, but you haven't bought a ticket, you need to get the ticket between tonight and tomorrow because I'm about to shut it down because we really are at max capacity. But it's also important that I know who's coming from GSU because remember, I'm doing a presentation to GSU members. It's only for GSU members who are in the room, in the building. So if you're not there, don't come back later talking about, well, do we still get, no, you had to be in the building at the event to be able to get the recognition. So we're doing it specifically to kind of recognize you at that event next Saturday. So if you had any thoughts of, I was going to buy a ticket, I was still thinking about buying a ticket, you might want to jump on that ASAP because I will be shutting the tickets down. I was supposed to send the final head count and meal selections to the hotel yesterday. I talked to them today and asked them to give me one more day. And so I just wanted to put that out there because we have a good group of GSU folks who are coming, which I'm really excited about. So that I just wanted to put that last thing out there. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night. Thank you, Angela, again.
Thank you. You all have a good night.
Angie.
Thank you.
Good night, all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night, night.